There we go. Oh, it's been a while. Yeah. So, this is going to be a talky video. Big chat with the Bigkent because I'm on a rest day and don't feel like filming too much at the minute, as it's mostly on my Instagram anyway. So, thought I would do a bit of a chat over a cigar and a coffee. So this video will be as long as this lasts. Still not. Oh, come on, you bastard. That worked. Been a few weeks since I had one of these. Yeah, so where to begin? Just in terms of what happened with prep, I guess, as YouTube doesn't really know. I mean, Instagram knows. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably, the correlation in terms of how many subscribers I have on YouTube versus how many I actually have on Instagram. I have so many more Instagram followers than I do subscribers on YouTube, so you definitely watch my Instagram more than you do my YouTube, whatever, you probably know. But yeah, we can get some more detail out here, can't we? So yeah, in terms of prep, so as many people know, I decided to do an earlier show than I was going to do. I was going to do the race trick, which was on the 10th of August, which I didn't do, obviously. Instead I went for the Claremont, just thought I could get an earlier show in and you know, show off what I was going to bring. But what I was thinking at the time was I was coming in very quick, and I was getting very stressed about the weight cap because the year prior I'd, you know, come in quite small compared to my weight cap, and the one thing they wanted was size. So I was very conscious that I was approaching my weight cap very quickly, and my rate of loss was good. I was losing like 1 kilo a week. I was coming in pretty rapid. I'm pretty sure Brandon had the same thing. Obviously, being coached by Cal is very good at what he does. So I was very conscious of coming in at the right size, coming in on my weight cap, and I was like, well, I know I could get in shape in this X amount of time. And in my own head, I was like, yeah, I'm peeled. I had a lot of people telling me I was very lean. I look back on those photos and go, I was lean, but I wasn't sharp. So there was still a lot more maturity in terms of that to develop. But anyway, this is at the time. At the time, I was like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's do an earlier show. And I was fucking buzzed about it. I just wanted to go at it. I was like, yeah, get myself back on stage and go for it. So I did, and we did the one on the 13th. And what I hadn't accounted for is the ramp up of protocol that would have to happen in order to get into shape within the 2 weeks that I decided to do the show, and to the point when the show was on. So I had about 2 or 3 weeks to actually get the weight off, which I was like, I'll do it, it'll be fine. And realistically, I did, because I was on stage and I was under my weight cap. But a few things to take into account here. I'd spent the last 3 years in London, and I wasn't very happy living in London. And I wasn't very happy with my job, which I've been doing for the last 3 years. There was no sort of signs of progression, and I was really working as hard as I could at both the bodybuilding and my job in order to try and progress both of them, and also the coaching alongside that, which weren't really allowed to know about because you're not allowed to have 2 streams of income, otherwise they sort of fire you. So I had to keep that one a bit secret, especially from my manager. Got a bit of wind right now. So it was a tough old time stress-wise, and I'd had a relationship before prep which had ended, and I'd had to move house. That was very stressful in itself. I'd moved into the new place in March, and it was a step up in terms of rent. It was very expensive, especially in comparison to my salary, which was not much. So it was a lot of stresses all at once, and with prep on top of that, which I really wanted to do, really wanted to do, and do well. It was all a bit much, and it built, and you get to the back end of prep, you're knackered, and you're going, how am I going to get to work today? I haven't got the energy to do that. I'm worried I'm going to fall asleep trying to do work. I'm worried I'm going to try and bite somebody's head off because I'm so, reactive to everything in terms of like prep and all that. And I did my absolute best in work to keep that at bay, which I did pretty successfully. But sometimes people just piss you off, which is normal. So I was having a hard old time in terms of balancing work and the gym. and obviously that sort of really got to me. And it was 2 weeks out from the show, I lost my granddad, and I had to come back here to Wales for the funeral, and the drive itself fucking killed me. It was like 5 or 6 hours, and I was wrecked afterwards. And the next day, I remember messaging Cal being like, mate, I can barely walk, I've got no energy at all. And we had a high day, but just one, and we're concerned we've got to get me in shape for the show. And he was just like, look, we just got to keep pushing. And I was just like, mate, there's nothing there. And my head was going, because I was worried about, one, getting in shape was getting under the weight cap was my main concern. I knew I had the mass, so that worry was gone. But getting under the weight cap was really stressing me out, and that rate of loss I had completely disappeared. Obviously, Cal was like, cut calories, and I was just like, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It didn't work in that sense. I was tired, I was stressed, I was fucked up, man, and it just wasn't happening. And I didn't really have any way to alleviate the stress. Everything I did was all focused on bodybuilding. There wasn't really much time for free time outside of those things, so I could rarely relax. And I know that affected my relationship, obviously, at the time. So all a big clusterfuck, really, to the point on show day where I didn't really feel like it was my show day anymore, and we were sort of just getting me through it. Obviously, within that time, a week out, I changed coaches away from Cal, just because I needed a different approach to get me in shape. He was like, we need to push, or we'll have to pull out the show. My brain wasn't in the position to pull out. I was like, but I was just like, I was like, there's no chance. There's absolutely no chance I'm having to set myself on this. I'm not pulling out of this one. Even though I could have, but I'd spent the money and the investment in the money alone for the hotel, to pay for the thing, to pay for the town to get there. That was, in my mind, because I was running low on funds and because I was being pushed financially, I was like, there's not a fucking chance I'm not doing this, I'm not backing out. Whereas somebody else in a less desperate position might be, fine, forget it, forget the money, let's not do that show, let's take the original timeline, which would have given me another 4 weeks to get ready, which would have been perfect, but I just didn't have that 4 weeks in my head. I was like, I need to get this done, because I was really worried about work. I was really worried I was going to get fired and that I wasn't doing as well as I should be, which I wasn't, but I was trying my hardest. Well, I actually was doing as good as I could be, and I was doing very well, but my manager's opinion wasn't that. So yeah, a bit of a difficult situation. Anyway, it all accumulated basically, to the point where a few days, days out from show, my brain was off, big time off. Didn't want to do it. Barely even wanted to get up there. And once I obviously got up there, I was very happy, did it, but obviously not happy at all with the outcome. But I know why I got the result I did. I came third of 3 in my class, which obviously I was like, you're a fucking failure, because I had such a big expectation on myself, let alone what other people put on me. It doesn't matter what other people put on you in terms of the expectation. It was what I was putting on myself in terms of that. I was like, you've got to win. You have to do this. You have to win this year. You have to get a pro card, because you've got to get out of that job. And that's what I'd put on myself. I was like, in order to get out the job, you need to prove to yourself that you're going to be a good enough bodybuilder to do it. And for me, that meant a pro card. Now I look back and go, that's not at all what you should have been doing. You shouldn't have been pushing for that pro card. Obviously, that's given me a bit of hindsight, a few months of learning to get that one. But it was basically like that would be the ideal situation. Win the pro card, get out of a job. But that didn't happen, and I was pushing way too hard on myself to get it. And I was pushing up against other people and that sort of thing, and it was just like, look, it's not right, is it? So I had a lot of things like that, which sort of, I did the show. My head was not there. I wasn't ready to push again. I was like, look, I've got no energy, and my brain doesn't want to do it. You can function with no energy. I've done it before. If your head's there, my head wasn't there. My head wasn't doing that thing where it was going, yeah, fuck this, come on. It wasn't like, yeah, come on, let's fucking do it. I don't care how tired you are. Let's fucking get yourself in gear and go. It wasn't doing that. It was going, stop, have a burger, take a bit of time away from this. You need to sort yourself out. And I know I needed to sort myself out, because a few weeks before, I was speaking to my parents. I was like, look, I can't keep doing this forever. I can't keep paying this rent. This is really tough. I don't like this job. I had a meeting with my manager a few weeks out from the show, and he had basically been like, you're not good enough. And when you get told you're not good enough for 3 years straight, despite your best efforts, it really gets to you. So I had that on my shoulders, and I turned around to, when we were still together, a couple of weeks out from the show, I think it was about a week and a half, I turned around to Ali and gone, my parents have said, you know, you can come home if you need to, set up your business better, and get things moving there. And I said, you know what, get rid of the overheads in terms of the financial pressure, get rid of the job which is fucking destroying my soul, get rid of London, which is, you know, it has its benefits, but I wasn't utilising them. And King's Gym, fantastic environment, great people, but I can't stick around in a place just for the purpose of a gym. So it was a big decision to make, and I obviously told her that. I said, look, I'm going to move. I'm going to move home. I'm going to do it sharpish. And I think the decision to do that was like, I said to her, I said I would do it after the Arnold. Obviously, it needed to be sooner than that. Once I'd competed and I decided I was handing my notice in, as soon as I decided to hand my notice in, I did not want to go to work anymore. And that was pretty recognisable. And obviously, normally you have to serve a month notice period. That was my period of notice. But I think we got me out in a week, just because did a deal with my manager, just be like, look, you know, obviously don't want to take on, we're coming to a busy period in work, they didn't want me to take on any new accounts, so I was like, yep, that sounds good to me, I want out as soon as possible. So that's what we did. And I moved home on the 10th of September. I saw, you know, as many people as I could down in London at that time. I enjoyed my birthday, and I had a great time in that period of sort of just getting myself back to normality. Let these fly. Can you fuck off, please? I'm trying to tell a story. But yeah, getting myself back to normal, getting myself out of that box of prep, because it had become a box, it had become a bit of a prison. I was on effectively what was a meal plan, and for me that doesn't really work. It works in terms of getting you in shape, but in terms of what it does to your head, it just makes you very food conscious. So, and I don't deal well with that. I'm much more of it, if I want something, I'll try and make it work, you know, regardless. And obviously, with certain foods, they're bad for bloating. Cream of rice for me was really, really bad for bloating, and it's not something I'll use again, I don't think, unless it improves. And that was one thing we were using a lot of. So I was just like, I wasn't comfortable, basically, especially towards the end. But anyway, regardless of that, moved home now. Things are going a lot better. Business has picked up. Instagram has picked up as of this morning. 20k on Instagram, which has gone up a shitload. I even halfway through September, I was on 15, and that had gone up a lot then. I'd earned like another 2,000 followers in a few weeks. So I'm really happy with how that's going. Started to dabble back into TikTok. I actually deleted the app for a while because it was taking up too much space on my phone, and I was getting bored of it because the views aren't great. And it's a bit of fun. It's not something I put a lot of time into, but that's definitely coming back. Posting every day on Instagram is something I definitely enjoy, so that's good. Trying to get back on this, trying to get back on YouTube. Obviously, we're doing everything through Josh. I will probably send this to Spooner to edit, because I don't know how to do that, even though I should probably learn. So yeah, lots of things to sort of move forward with in terms of the business. My dad is helping me a lot. He's very interested. And yeah, there's just a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz around things. How am I feeling about it? Pretty stressed, not gonna lie, fairly stressed about it. It's very exciting. It's all my own stuff, but it is all on me. So, you know, getting a work schedule together and sort of working on my own time. You don't ever stop, really. I'm always talking to clients, I'm always doing something, which is good. I do enjoy it. I'm not one of these people that shies away from that sort of thing, so I do enjoy the fact that I've got clients and they are asking me questions, and I'm getting them to open up and respond and sort of not have that whole traditional, you've got to push bro, you've got to do this bro approach to coaching. I'd much rather, because the majority of my guys are lifestyle, I've got a few guys looking to compete, but I'd much rather we do it in a way which suits the client, which is what I would prefer as a client myself, especially at the minute, being in a maintenance phase, as that's why I'm in at the minute, maintenance phase. Obviously last time, if you follow my Instagram, we pushed up hard for off-season. I got up to 116 kilos in 33 weeks of off-season, so that includes the post-show phase. So post-show, 8 weeks later, I was 20 kilos up on stage weight. This time, I am 9 kilos up. Averaging around 100 kilos. I was 91 on the weigh-in day. Funnily enough, another story, found out on the day that I weighed in, Obviously with Classic you got it by height category, so I would normally be in Class C because I was 5'10". Well, I was 5'10" when I was 116 kilos. Getting down to 91 again, turned out I'd lost a bit of height, so I was about a centimetre taller than 5'10", about a centimetre into it. By the time I'd lost the weight, I was a centimetre underneath, so I'd lost 2 centimetres, which they do it on inches rather than centimetres, which is a bit annoying. So it's not that specific, but when they height you in, they do it in centimetres, and then the measurement they had for the conversion rate from centimetre to feet and inches was a bit off, so I was a bit like whoa. But the guy, it happened with 2 of us, and the guy he was like, look, if you're going to do a pro qualifier, just make sure you're the right height. But I think their thing was just off, because I know one of the guys who then competed later, and his height was all fine. But then my dad has measured me since, and I am just under 5'10", so there we go. Which means that 93 kg weight cap, which I was worrying about so much this year, is actually now 89 kilos, so it's even less. But based off the feedback we got, which I was very watery, I could have done with a bit longer in the prep oven, I definitely think I can get to 89 again, and not having that mental barrier of like, oh my god, 93, oh I'm never, you know, a lot of the problem I've had is people being like, you're fucking massive, you're never going to get down to that weight. And it's like, if Michael de Boul can get below 94 kilos and he looks the way he looks, then I'm pretty sure we're okay to get below 89 at my height, because I think I have the same height as him, and he's a fucking just won the Arnold Classic, so it's very doable to lose that sort of weight. It is rough. You will need an inversion table probably in order to gain a couple of centimetres in height to get over into 5'10", but I don't think I'll need that for now. I think I'm good, and I think I'll manage in terms of managing to get into that weight cap, so I have no concerns over that. It's lifted that mental barrier, especially in terms of gaining weight in the off season, because obviously last time I got very large and people would be like, oh, you didn't get fat. Well, that's only because I had a lot of muscle. I was still carrying a lot of body fat, just on my arse, which obviously looks a lot better than when it's on your stomach. But you know, that's the thing, when people were like, oh no, you look great, it's like, yeah, well, I just had a shitload of fat on my legs and my bum. So this time around, definitely looking to maintain a much leaner physique, a much better physique, but still going to do a good off season. Make some necessary improvements, make some lines deeper, gain a bit of muscular maturity, so my physique looks a lot more defined when it is leaner. So that's the plan this time around. Not necessarily maintenance, you're still looking to improve, you're just not looking to aggressively put on weight, not even like muscle tissue, weight. So I think a lot of people are doing that in the industry this year. I know a lot of people that are looking to stay lean through their off season, so they don't have to do such an aggressive cut. So you can compete for longer, because obviously if you cut for 20 weeks and then you're planning on doing another 3-4 shows, which might be spread over 6 weeks, you've got to diet for 26 weeks, and that's rough. That's half a year. It's not easy, even with diet breaks, even with that sort of thing. It's still being kept in that pressurized box of prep, so it's a bit of a mental challenge through the whole thing of that. You know, once you get to the end of things, prep is definitely all mental, because you know how to train, you know how to eat, you know all that. There's no technique problems in the gym, you're not learning movements, you're just trying to do the sessions and not lose a vast amount of strength, which will come down to, you know, refeeds and communication with your coach as well. But it's that sort of thing. It is a rough mental game, so that you've got to consider that sort of thing when you're doing this. So yeah, prep for next time. We're definitely looking at, well, I wasn't really sure what Vicky had planned for me. My new coach is Tiny Titan. I can't pronounce Vicky's surname. I cannot remember it. It begins with a D. Anyway, Vicky. Vicky, I asked her the day when she thought about shows, because me, being me, I was like, well, when are we getting back on it? You know, I'm 100 kilos now. We could definitely be 89 in 10 weeks, 8 weeks, and be fucking shredded and get back on stage. She was like, no, give you a nice break. Give you a nice break and do a proper off season and make some improvements. And I was like, all right, let's slow it down. Let's get me settled in a situation, because obviously I'm still living with my parents at the minute. I don't necessarily want to start a prep when I'm living with my parents. It can be pretty rough, so I don't want to put that on them, nor do I want to have the pressure of working around them. I need to get my own place, which will happen hopefully sometime in the new year, dependent on a few different factors, one of them being money. So yeah, but much better place now. To recap, in terms of going back, I'm in a much better position financially, and emotionally, whatever you want to call it, mentally, than I was a few months ago. Especially going to the Arnold sort of made me realise that I am a bit of a big deal. No, I'm not a big deal at all. When you're walking around with people like Connor, who's getting someone come up to him every other second, Cam, and they're both like 19 or 20 years old, and they're having people come to them constantly. I had a few people come to me, which was very nice that they came and saw me and were very polite, and I was happy to have a photo with them and all that. It was really, really good. And obviously, but I'm no way near other people in the industry, which is great to see, because all through prep I was trying to line myself up against fucking Brandon Harding, who obviously we speak a lot now, and we're pretty good friends, but stupidly I was just like trying to line myself up against him, and then I stood back and was like, the man has near enough 1 million followers, on everything, and is very far ahead in terms of the business side of things, and also is now an IFBB pro. Granted, my physique is very good and has the potential to become an IFBB pro, but everything else wasn't in place. I was still working a normal corporate job. I was still doing everything else. And I didn't like the job. This wasn't as if I was comfortable and it was going to progress in it. I just didn't want to do it. So everything else wasn't suited to the fact that I was going to be a bodybuilder. I wanted to be a bodybuilder, whereas he's got everything lined up. Obviously, he's got his own pressures and that sort of thing. That's not to say he didn't struggle, because he did. And he's had, but he held on and managed to get through and do really, really fucking well. So me putting myself up against that is never going to be a good fit. Also, making comparisons against other people is never useful. It might be good. When I was younger as a sportsman, I was a lot of sports teams. I was in mostly team sports like rugby and rowing, and you're facing up against another team. You're marking a man. You're against that other person in the other boat. You're against the other number on the field when you're playing rugby, and you've got to mark that up. And that's the mentality I've always had: is you've got to pick your man and go at it. But bodybuilding's not the same. It's you going against you. Obviously, there is the comparison component, because you are literally comparing against other people, and we were going to do the same shows. So it was a good motivator, but not a useful comparison in that sense. So there you have it. Fucking hell. What else then? Now I moved up here, things are better. But still, there's still that part of my brain which is adjusting, especially to new circumstances. I don't want to go into it too much in terms of relationship, because I shouldn't. It's a public platform. It's not fair. And some things, as I've been told by many friends, are to be kept to yourself. So, I won't go into that or anything like that, because it's not fair on either party. But am I over it is a good question. And I would like to say yes. But I'm still processing things, dealing with things in my own way, which I'm sure many people who've been through breakups, obviously they're not quite as public as mine, but many people who've been through breakups, it's hard to know how to deal with it. I'm still struggling to deal with it, because it was very intense. So it is one of those things where you've got to learn how to do it yourself, and in time the wound will heal. I wouldn't say it's open, it's definitely closing. I'm a lot better than I was, but it's just time. It's just going to take time. So, I'd like to think there's no animosity between us. I don't know. She still is on prep after all, and definitely don't expect anything from her. Why would I? That's ridiculous. She's got her own shit to be doing, which I'm very happy she's doing. I'm trying to be as supportive as I can from a distance. We don't talk, so I'm happy with that. That whatever it is, I don't need to be happy. Just let it get on. Whatever it is. I'm rambling now. I seem a bit unnerved, but yes, it's been hard. It has been hard. But getting out, seeing friends, doing all that shit, socialising, taking yourself out of bodybuilding a bit, because obviously the relationship was so linked to bodybuilding. It was difficult to get out of bodybuilding whilst in prep. It was difficult to separate ourselves from it. So definitely getting back into things like, my golf, seeing friends, going out, having one of these once in a while, all very useful things. Just to take the pressure off. Trying to get back into video games. It's a bit challenging. I feel it's weird with video games. They're obviously a distraction, not a distraction, but they're a release. They get yourself. Well, it is a distraction. They're a distraction from real life. It's useful. It can be relaxing. You can, especially with multiplayer online games, you can talk to your friends. Not that I've done that in a while. It's mostly single player stuff I'm playing, and maybe that's where I'm going wrong, because I'm struggling to get my head into it. You know, even like Elden Ring, I haven't gone, oh yeah, I really want to play that. I'm playing Zelda at the minute, Breath of the Wild, because I bought a Switch. It's fucking amazing, by the way. But I've played it before. So it's as and when I want to, and it's familiar, so it's easy. But it's also a pretty fucking easy game. But just in terms of trying to refocus on video games themselves, I'm finding that doing the social media stuff brings that same thrill. That you get from video games. You know, I'm excited by it. I want to post all the time. I want to interact with people. I want to talk to people. I love doing my Q&As, which I know a lot of people are like, God, you seem so fucking miserable, but that's my personality. You know, I don't want to say I'm judgmental, but like, I'm British at the end of the day. We're very fucking sarcastic. So that's just how that works. But yeah, I really, really enjoy it. I really enjoy talking to people. That's why I love going to the Arnold, because you got to speak to all the people involved in the industry, have a good chat, and just fucking mix with the people that do the same thing as you. Jeez, it's such a big relief having gone from being in a constant corporate environment and not being able to talk to people on that level. Also, the thing is with people in the gym versus people that compete is there is another component to why you're in the gym. Guys who compete are there to train. We're not necessarily there to socialise or to improve ourselves, to improve our self-esteem, or to pick up girls, to get attention. We're there to improve ourselves in competition. So there is a different aspect in terms of when you talk to somebody about how things are going on. That's why guys like Sammy Hardwick, Connor, and all the girls in the gym who compete and that sort of thing were a bit of a godsend, really, in terms of prep, because I had somebody to talk on that level to. Obviously James, when I saw him, but he was obviously off doing his prep in Cheltenham, in JP's place a lot of the time. So it was, you know, Louis Moylan, great guy to talk to. Arj as well, when I saw him. Obviously saw Spooner a lot. So I probably left a load of people out. Cleo, you know, all those guys in Kings who are very, very useful on prep just to chat to, because you can't be sat in a box. As you know, I know the whole Jay Cutler thing. I literally put myself in a fucking box. You can't do that. You can't. Like, you can't go into a gym, train at 2 a.m. and be this isolated freak. Maybe you could back in the 2000s, because there wasn't this outlet, there wasn't social media, you couldn't get out there, you just put yourself in it and you just said, I'm doing this, I'm going at it, and this is the way to do it. And nowadays we have the ability to interact, which I think is much better. He himself does this now. You look at Jay Cutler's stuff now, he's all on social media, he fucking loves it. Whenever he talks about social media, he's like, I wish I had this back in my day, so I had an outlet for it. So it's all, I think all this stuff's great. It's very useful in terms of being able to talk, as I'm doing now. Having a full fucking conversation with myself at a camera. Who the fuck does that? I'm just talking at myself. But yeah, the whole social media thing, in terms of, it does distract me from video games, which I think is probably a good thing, because when I was younger I used to play the shit out of them, but now I'm just like, oh yeah, the new Call of Duty's coming out soon, I might look at that. I am going to get the new God of War, and I should start streaming, because I think I'll get the same feeling that I do from the social media side of things when I start streaming, because it's the same sort of thing. Whether that's an egotistical thing in terms of people just watching you playing these games, I don't know, but it's enjoyment and I enjoy it, so why not push into that? It's not bad for me, is it? So it's not like these, but yeah,